Hello and welcome to Business 360. I'm Shireen Bhan. The headlines we're tracking for you this evening. The Sensex and the Nifty recover from their opening lows, ending in the green. All sectoral indices gain today, barring the IT index. The Sensex and the Nifty up 1% this week. Indian IT stocks decline after global major Accenture cuts its revenue and margin outlook for FY24. Brokerages warn that revenue forecast for FY25 at risk as Indian IT remains an earnings downgrade cycle. A trial court is hearing Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal's bail plea after he was arrested by the Enforcement Directorate over the Delhi liquor policy case. The ED claims proceeds of the crime add up to 600 crore rupees. Kejriwal's lawyer Abhishek Manu Singhvi argues ED has not been able to establish the need to arrest a sitting Chief Minister. Aam Aadmi Party workers take to the streets after Kejriwal's arrest. Opposition parties approach the Election Commission. Rahul Gandhi says, and I quote, "A scared dictator wants to create a dead democracy," end of quote. Chief Ministers of West Bengal, Tamil Nadu and Kerala call it a witch hunt. BJP hits back, terms the arrest the victory of truth, demands Kejriwal's resignation. After a strong rebuke from the Supreme Court, Tamil Nadu governor administers the oath of office to DMK minister Ponmudi. Governor had refused to reinstate the minister despite the Supreme Court imposing a stay on his conviction. Megha Engineering is the top donor to the BJP via electoral bonds, donating 584 crore rupees. Future Gaming accounts for over 35% of all donations received by the Trinamool Congress. Vedanta is the top donor to the Congress party with donations of 125 crores. The US government accuses Apple of illegally monopolizing the smartphone market, files a lawsuit against the tech giant along with 15 other states, saying Apple has the power to control prices or exclude competition. Apple says the lawsuit is wrong on facts and law. Leaders of the European Union, UK and Australia call for the immediate ceasefire in Gaza. This comes hours before the UN Security Council prepares to vote on a US-backed resolution. US Secretary of State Antony Blinken scheduled to meet top Israeli officials and push for a ceasefire. The death toll in Gaza nears 32,000. The Indian Premier League begins today with a clash between Chennai Super Kings and Royal Challengers Bengaluru. A special report on the business of cricket and IPL coming up. Well, we'll get to the IPL in just a bit, but let's start with the market action. The Sensex and the Nifty shrugging off a sluggish start, ending at the high point of the day. The Nifty gained over 80 points. The Sensex added 190. All sectoral indices, barring the IT index, ended with gains. For the week, both the Sensex and the Nifty did gain 1%. That's the Nifty for you. The Sensex up 190 points. The mid-cap index up by 0.5%, and Nifty Bank gaining about 180 points. This is the second consecutive week of gains for our markets. Both the Sensex and the Nifty closing higher by 1% for the week. Mid-caps and small caps have staged a recovery of sorts after a brutal sell-off that we saw in the last few days. But is the correction done, or should investors brace for more volatility? Nimesh is here with the CNBC-TV18 special analysis. Nimesh.
Hi, Shireen. No, it's $1 million question on whether the correction is over. But let me just tell you as to what has happened in the broader markets in this month. So this month, the returns may look very flat, just 1 to 2% rally in this so far in mid-cap, small-cap and micro-cap. But from the all-time highs, the mid-cap index is down 5%. The small-cap and micro-cap indices are down 10 to 11%. So there has been a pain for a lot of the portfolio investors. But to put into context what the mid-cap and broader markets have done over the 2 and 3 year period, if you just look at the 2 and 3 year period, it's been a massive rally in the broader market stocks. Look at the indices. Mid-cap index in 2 years has given 63%, and over 3 years has given 100% returns. In the small cap space, the small cap index has given 45% return over 2 years and more than 80% return over a 3 year period. And says the case with the micro cap index as well. That's rallied 86% over the last 2 years. But the street seems to be quite divided as to where we stand in the current context. Let me give some bull cases. HSBC, for instance, says that the concerns like a 2018 kind of a correction, it looks like overdone. A lot of the macros are quite favorable at this point in time, and they do not see a 20 to 30% fall in the near term. So they are slightly bullish after the correction in the broader markets. Look at the Jefferies note. Jefferies says that the correction that we saw in the month of March was quite healthy and not a meltdown. And they see strong capex makes a several case for mid and small caps to be attractive and option to buy. Similarly, JP Morgan says that while there could be another 5 to 10% downside, but they'd see a lot of high exposure to sectors like manufacturing, infra, and green energy can create a lot of alpha opportunities in the weeks to come. So that's the JP Morgan view. But there are some who are not so bullish as well. So for instance, Bernstein, they say despite the correction, the valuations are rich. it'll be tough to generate alpha in this year, and they prefer large caps over small caps. But even Kotak believes that while the idea is to move towards high-quality names, but the high-quality names also have some challenges going forward. So it's a kind of a mixed view from Kotak and Bernstein. I just want to leave with some names which have rallied pretty hard, but the valuation looks quite stretched. So if you just look at the list there, IRFC, Ircon, a lot of the PSU names, IRFC is up 400%, but now it's sitting at an expensive valuation. So is the case with REC. That stock is up 300% in the last 1 year, now trading at expensive valuations of 1.5 times price to book. Similar is the case with the other some PSU names as well, which will come up the street. So look at Hudco, Ircon, Cochin Shipyard. They all have rallied 200 to 400% in the last 1 year. But in terms of valuations, it looks stretched for most of the names. So looks like some expensive stocks may underperform. But whether the correction is over or not, only time will tell in the broader market stocks.
All right, Nimesh, many thanks for joining us. And you can catch more with Nimesh and our team of market editors on the Editors Roundtable that's coming up at 4:30 p.m. and 8:30 p.m. right here on CNBC-TV18. Well, the Union Finance Ministry expects the economy to end this fiscal year on a positive note on the back of strong growth and robust fundamentals. The government has also said that household savings need to rise to spur private capital formation. However, the report warns that global headwinds, including a rise in crude oil prices and global supply chain issues, may persist. It says that the current account deficit needs to be watched closely in FY25. Indian IT stocks declined today after global major Accenture cut its revenue and margin outlook for FY24. Now, brokerages have warned that revenue forecasts for FY25 could be at risk as Indian IT has remained in an earnings downgrade cycle. Rima standing by now to take us through more. Rima, so caution and nervousness on Indian IT on the back of that guidance cut by Accenture overnight.
Thanks so much for that. So IT, as you said, is under pressure because Accenture has lowered its guidance. They're now saying for FY24, revenue growth will be between 1 to 3%, which is lower compared to 2 to 5% that they were earlier guiding for. If you look at the organic growth guidance, well, the cut is actually a lot steeper, and now they're looking and we're staring at the possibility of a negative organic growth for Accenture this year. -2 to 0% is the guidance, and margins too have been trimmed. Now, the question is, why did Accenture cut the guidance? What changed in the last 3 months? Well, the company in the conference call said that they are seeing further cuts in short-cycle discretionary projects. So the longer-term transformational projects are very much intact. But the companies are cutting back on spending, on discretionary spending, particularly in the smaller projects. Now, moving on, how does this impact the Indian IT services company? Well, the big risk is that FY25 revenue growth forecasts will come down. Now, you know, FY24 has been a dismal year for Indian IT companies, right? But the expectation was that in FY25, things will bounce back. In fact, people were looking at a near double-digit kind of revenue growth. But Accenture has now come out and said that the outsourcing business is going to see a revenue growth of mid-single digit. Is that going to be the case for the Indian IT companies? And therefore, will the revenue growth forecast have to be brought down? And it also puts into the question the pace of recovery that the street was anticipating. The key is going to be Infy and HCL Tech when they report their FY25 guidance in April, and will it be laced with cautiousness? Now, what are brokerages saying? CLSA says that the IT sector continues to remain in an earnings downgrade cycle, which is not fully captured in the current valuations, which is why they've got a sell call on Indian IT. Morgan Stanley says that consensus FY25 revenue forecasts are at a risk, and the pace of recovery anticipated by the street, may be a lot slower. Actually. But, one important thing to monitor this time is that Accenture's numbers taken into account the growth forecast till August, because their financial year is September to August. So their guidance is only till the 31st of August 2024, and it doesn't capture the the second half of FY25. Now, how has Indian IT performed? Well, Indian IT, today, of course, you are seeing a correction in the stock. But over the last couple of days, the Indian IT stocks have underperformed the broader markets. And a quick word on generative AI, because that's where all the action is, the buzz is, the hope is, the optimism is. Accenture has recorded generative AI bookings of $600 million in the quarter gone by. And this is a whopping 33% increase just on a quarter-on-quarter basis. And in the first half of the year, their generative AI bookings have crossed $1 billion. Back to you.
Rima, many thanks for joining us. Aviation, Credit Suisse has informed the Supreme Court that SpiceJet has cleared all its outstanding dues. In its previous hearing, the Supreme Court had directed SpiceJet to clear outstanding dues by the 15th of March. The court posted the case for hearing in July to ensure that the airline doesn't default again. Bajaj Auto's MD Rajiv Bajaj highlighting the importance of a skilled workforce to fulfill targets and realize dreams. Speaking at a Bajaj Beyond CSR event, Rajiv Bajaj said the group has committed 5,000 crore rupees for the next 5 years towards various CSR initiatives. He also said Bajaj Auto will launch a CNG-run motorcycle in June. He broke that story here on CNBC-TV18, added that their popular bike Pulsar that was launched 20 years ago will hit 2 million units soon. Take a look.
In last 5 years, पिछले 5 सालों में जो 3-wheeler industry है, the size of which is about 60-70 हज़ार 3-wheeler हर महीने इस देश में बिकता है, तो now almost 60% के ऊपर CNG पे चले गए हैं, क्योंकि गवर्नमेंट ने बहुत अच्छा काम किया है CNG का जो पाइपलाइन इन लोग बढ़ा रहे हैं पूरे देश में, कि जून के महीने में we will launch this motorcycle.
Well, a CNG motorcycle from the Bajaj Auto stable in June. The big national story, Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal arrested from his residence last night by the Enforcement Directorate over the liquor policy case. A trial court is currently hearing his bail petition. The ED claims that proceeds of crime add up to 600 crore rupees. Kejriwal's lawyer Abhishek Manu Singhvi arguing that the ED has not been able to establish the need to arrest a sitting chief minister. His arrest has sparked widespread protests in the capital. The police have also detained leaders like Atishi Saurabh Bhardwaj. Kejriwal has been brought to Roos Avenue by the ED to hear the matter. Kejriwal's arrest has also sparked a strong reaction from opposition party leaders. Rahul Gandhi tweeted, and I quote, "A scared dictator wants to create a dead democracy." End of quote. He went on to say that the arrest of chief ministers has become a common thing. West Bengal Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee said it is outrageous that elected ministers are being targeted deliberately, calling it a blatant assault on democracy. Chief ministers of Tamil Nadu and Kerala have called it a witch hunt. Opposition leaders will approach the Election Commission, the BJP hitting back at the allegations, calling the arrest a victory of truth. The parties also demanded the resignation of Kejriwal as Delhi's chief minister.
कोई भी विपक्ष का कोई लीडर अगर बीजेपी के जुल्म जबर के खिलाफ बोलता है तो उसके घर पे ईडी आती है, उसके घर पे सीबीआई आती है, इनकम टैक्स आती है। चट्टान की तरह अरविंद केजरीवाल जी के साथ खड़ी है। अरविंद केजरीवाल को तो गिरफ्तार कर लोगे, उसकी सोच को कैसे गिरफ्तार करोगे? अरविंद केजरीवाल एक व्यक्ति नहीं है, अरविंद केजरीवाल एक सोच है।
The arrest of Kejriwal is only through threat. There is no evidence to arrest Mr. Kejriwal. I don't know why they were arrested. See, it is undemocratic, and it shows that this government is a dictatorial government.
हाई कोर्ट में अरविंद केजरीवाल जी खुद गए थे। हाई कोर्ट ने गिरफ्तारी पर रोक लगाने से इनकार कर दिया, और सूत्रों से तो ये भी पता चल रहा है कि ऑनरेबल जस्टिस ने कहा कि अभी तक अरविंद केजरीवाल बाहर कैसे घूम रहे हैं इतने प्रूव होने के बाद। कोर्ट बेल देती है और कोर्ट बेल भी नहीं दे रही है, तो इसके बाद भारतीय जनता पार्टी के सर पे ठीकरा मत फोड़ें, अपने कर्मों पर ठीकरा फोड़ें।
Well, the Supreme Court has refused to grant bail to BRS leader K. Kavita, who was arrested by the ED in the Delhi excise policy case. A bench of Justice Sanjeev Khanna, M.M. Sundaresh and Bela Trivedi has directed K. Kavita to approach the trial court for bail. After a strong rebuke from the Supreme Court, Tamil Nadu governor has administered the oath of office to DMK minister Ponmudi. The governor had refused to reinstate the minister despite the Supreme Court imposing a stay on his conviction. Now, the State Bank of India has submitted all the unique serial numbers linking purchasers of bonds to political parties. As per the data submitted, Megha Engineering is the top donor to the BJP through the electoral bond route, donating 584 crores. Future Gaming's donations account for over 35% of all donations received by the Trinamool Congress. Parikshit is standing by now with the details. Parikshit, now that we do have the serial numbers available and we have been able to match the data, what does it tell us?
Well, Future Gaming, Megha Engineering are the top donors, but that's not all. Even the Sanjeev Goenka Group, the Keventer Group, the Aditya Birla Group are among the top donors. Now, 1,365 crores has been donated by Future Gaming, which is the biggest donation to all political parties through electoral bonds, 1,186 crore by Megha Engineering and Infrastructure. Now, if we begin with the BJP, out of 6,060 crores, 584 crore came from Megha Engineering, 230 crore from Vedanta, 285 crore from the Aditya Birla Group, 236 crore from the Bharti Group. Out of 1,610 crore that TMC received through bonds, 540 crore came from Future Gaming and 281 crore from Haldia Engineering. Out of the 1,421 crore that the Congress party received through bonds, the maximum came from the Vedanta Group at 125 crores, 120 crores from MKJ Enterprises. SL Mining, Jindal Steel and Power, Sanjeev Goenka Group, DLF Commercial were the other big donors to parties such as the BJP, Congress, TMC, BRS, BJD as well.
Parikshit, many thanks for joining us. Up next, the Indian Premier League begins today. We decode the business of the IPL when we return. All our crucial, critical trials are being touched by our Indian operations. That's the word coming in from the CEO of Novartis, the global pharma giant. Speaking to CNBC-TV18, Vas Narasimhan, the global CEO, said Novartis' Hyderabad center has some of the world's best talent, and he wants to leverage that to reach more patients across the globe. The company is also doubling down on building capabilities in research and development in India. Take a look.
You know, India has become incredibly strategic. Now, as you know, over the last 7 years, we've done this transformation of Novartis. We've done over $100 billion of transactions. We're a pure play medicines company. Last year, we had record performance. And when you look at our performance last year, 10 positive phase 3 trials, every one of those trials were touched by our Indian operations. Every one of those trials, the submissions of those trials to global regulators happens through our Hyderabad center. We get some of the best talent in the world here. And it's really what we see is Hyderabad becoming a talent story, a transformation story for enabling us to get more and more medicines to patients around the globe.
On the trial side, how facilitative and enabling have things become now from a trials perspective in India?
So in India, I believe we're still the #1 operator of clinical trials in the country. And we have seen improvements with DCGI in terms of the speed at which clinical trial applications are being processed. Obviously, we always would want things to go faster, but we see an improving environment in terms of operating our clinical trials here. And India is generally involved in our key global clinical trials. I think the next step, of course, is to continue to encourage the government to invest through the outstanding programs that we have now for the National Health Insurance Program to enable investment into the next innovative medicines. As you know, that's always a struggle given the price between generics and innovative medicines. But I think that's the next opportunity here in India. Then we could grow our Indian operations through the Healthcare Limited from a $200 to $300 million operation, we hope over time, to a much larger business.
What's the innovative launch pipeline potentially for India over the next few years? And do you do that with partners? Do you do that yourself? What's the view on that?
We have a steady flow of launches coming up. As I said, globally, we have about 12 launches coming out of these 10 positive phase 3 studies. And many of those launches will happen in India, most of them through our own field force. But we also do look at partnerships as well to try to reach, a broader segment of the population. I think the biggest question is the reimbursement environment, and can we get enough financial support to launch this next wave of medicines? But I think we have an obligation to figure it out. I mean, we know that these diseases impact large populations in India. I would also say Indian investigators and Indian clinical trialists have supported us to get these medicines forward. For instance, we have a medicine called pelacarsen, which targets a specific factor called Lp(a). Sorry to get a bit technical, but it's like LDL cholesterol. And what we know is Lp(a) is likely one of the reasons Indians often have heart attacks at younger ages.
Well, that's the global CEO of Novartis, Vas Narasimhan, on the opportunity for the company in India and how strategic India is from a research and development perspective. Before we wrap, the Indian Premier League begins today with a clash between the Chennai Super Kings and the Royal Challengers Bengaluru. The IPL is the most valuable cricket tournament that attracts the most eyeballs in India and around the world. Mangalam standing by to decode the business of the IPL. Mangalam.
Well, we're all set to kickstart the IPL 2024. But before that, let's put some numbers from 2023, the last season, in perspective. The last IPL saw nearly 500 million viewers watching over 43,000 crore minutes of content, with the finals seeing nearly 6.5 crore people watch together. For most of the games, there were about 3 crore peak concurrent viewers online itself. And that wasn't all. For TV as well, the growth was 32% in ratings. As we move to the business of the IPL, let's understand from a franchise owner's perspective. So this would probably look like an income statement of a franchise owner. The franchise fee, which is about 20% of revenue for old franchises, and fixed fee for new ones, is an expense for them. Players' fee, along with operating expenses, are the key cost heads. Whereas share of revenue coming in from the central revenue pool, central media rights, sponsors, and some ancillary revenue coming in from gate sales, ground ads and merchandise are the key income heads for a franchise owner. Of the central revenue pool that accrues to the BCCI, 50% is retained by them and the other 50% is distributed among the teams. What is the annual income for the BCCI through the IPL? It's roughly 5,000 crores, which comes in through media rights, about 1,350 crores, which comes in from franchise fees, and title sponsors, which give in close to around 500 crores. The BCCI keeps 50% of that, and the remaining 50%, like I said, is distributed to the teams. How do the actual numbers look? Last year's champions, Chennai Super Kings, made a revenue of close to 273 crores and an EBITDA of 65 crores as well. And now we have the list of their revenue sources and income heads. This is from the CSK annual report. Player fees were close to around 92 crores, franchise fee 50 crores, tournament expenses of around 40 crores, for which they got revenues of close to 200 crores from the central piece and sponsorship revenue of roughly 80 crores. But here's the game changer, the valuations. The valuation of some teams has grown to over 20-25 times since the beginning of the IPL in 2008, and the IPL itself has become a decacorn, which is basically over $10 billion in terms of valuation as per Duff and Phelps. So the question then is, from an investment standpoint, what are the listed plays here? Well, we have United Spirits that owns the RCB, Sun TV that owns the Hyderabad Sunrisers, and the RPSG Group's Lucknow Super Giants is partially held by RPSG Ventures. So as a percentage of market cap, the valuation for United Spirits or RCB is about 15%, for Sun TV is about 35%, and for RPSG Ventures is about 150%. But of course, there is a lot of valuation discount or holding company discount that will play it out as well. So that's the business of the IPL. Now that you know about it, sit back, relax, and enjoy the games.
Yes, we certainly will, Mangalam. Many thanks for joining us. The IPL now a decacorn. With that, it is time for us to wrap up this edition of Business 360. Stay tuned to CNBC-TV18. The news will continue after the short break.